I have a story to tell. About 10 years ago, on December 2nd, 2014, I was taking my wife, Lynn, for an outpatient surgery. It was planned to be laparoscopic. And we had family and friends show up, which was nice. Um, and, got her ready for surgery, said our goodbyes, and see you after surgery. And kind of noticed the time kept going. There was an hour, got to 2 hours, and one of the family members got concerned, and my sister Elizabeth said, it's real technical. It takes the time to do laparoscopic surgery, and at about 2.5 to 3 hours, I was standing at the information desk or the reception desk in the surgery suite, and the lady said, "Dr. Weber," and I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, Dr. Green will see you in consult room number 1. Those feelings you get. And I'm walking by all the other surgeons that are talking to the families out in public. And I go into consult room number 1. And it's like anything else, a bunch of chairs, a few boxes of Kleenex, a telephone, another door for the surgeon to enter. And I just stood there for a minute, and I was like, you know what? Your life is normal for the next few minutes. So just enjoy the normal. And so I sat down and did. After a few minutes, the surgeon came in. It's Dr. Andrew Green, who's an excellent surgeon. And we're good friends. And he's like, "I'm sorry it took so long." And I'm like, all the other surgeons are out in the waiting room talking to the families, out there. You've got me back here. And he's like, "Yeah, I do, because I don't have really good news." And pretty much what he said, laparoscopic surgery should have taken 20 minutes. You have to laugh about things now. 20, 30 minutes tops. And he goes, we got started. I looked in where I was working, and I saw cancer, and I saw a lot of it. And he goes, "It's ovarian, and it's stage 3B, which at that time I didn't realize cancer had letters." And he just said, I went from laparoscopic to 11.5-inch vertical incision, and I got it out. And it was, it was extensive. And of course, I asked him 4 or 5 times if he got it out, and he kept reassuring me he got it out. And he goes, we're going to have to do chemo, and she's going to have 2 ports. She'll have one here that feeds into a vein. She's going to have one in her abdomen that we put in, and I can do it at my office, which nicely was only 15 minutes away. And that just kind of began our journey. I have to confess, the first thoughts in my head was just total fear. I had children, we had children that were 13, 11, and 8. And, as a dad, I'm like, my wife does so much. She's such a great mother. And am I going to be a widower? What am I going to do? We have a running joke, I can't match clothes. So, there's always been a running joke with her friends and family that if anything ever happened to her, please come by and match the kids' clothes so they don't look completely dumb when they leave the house. And, he's like, "You're going to have to sit and talk to her about it because she's under anesthesia, so she's not going to know, or she might not remember. You're just going to have to keep saying, yes, you have cancer." And that kind of began our journey. And it was a journey. Finally got to see her, and she was weak, and as you would be. She went from a basic surgery, laparoscopic, which, we joke now because on the way there she couldn't eat. So she's telling me what she wants for lunch on the way home. And then she winds up in the hospital for, I think, 2 or 3 days. a memory that I will always have is the next day in her hospital room. Um, Dr. Green comes in to do his rounds. Uh, he's sitting on the edge of the bed. I'm sitting in a chair. Our friend Stacy Laddie standing behind him. And he starts talking to my wife about the chemo, the regimen, what she's going to have to do, when we can start, the ports that have to be placed that allows the chemo to enter the body. And he just as just talking like oncologists do. And he finally, at one point, he goes, "If you make it." And Lynn throws her finger pretty much almost into his face and says, "I will live. I will make it." And Stacy and I looked at each other, and I'm like, my thought was, here we go. Here we go. So, I think everybody has fight in them. As we've learned over the last few years, we do a charity called Thumbs Up, and we always talk about we have a number. We have a number on this earth. And thankfully, her number's still going. We went to chemo. She did chemo. She fought hard. She slept when she slept, and she got her steroids and ran around the house for a few days until the steroids ran out, and she'd go back to sleep. And we just fought. And I did everything I could as a father and to become kind of a mother too. We got help from family. But you're scared, trying to do this, and you're scared of the outcome. And one other member, it made me feel so good because her mom's like, "What's going to happen?" If I could hear her mom on the telephone one day going, "What's going to happen if something happens to you? How's Joe going to raise the 3 kids?" And she said, "Joe will be fine, Mama. I've got to take care of myself. He'll be fine. He'll do okay if that's what happens." And at that point, I kind of needed that encouragement. So Lynn went through the chemo. Her test results kept coming back that everything was okay. Get a couple scares every now and then with, however the test results come back. Unfortunately, ovarian cancer is 80% chance of coming back over 5 years. And then it reverts to 20% after that. That's the technical part. Interestingly, I'm a dentist. My wife's a nurse. And I asked her, I said, "Do you want to know this stuff? Do you want to know the statistics? What do you want to know?" And she's like, "I'm not a statistic." And I think sometimes that's the one lesson I learned the most from her. And I actually talked to the oncology nurse that gave her the chemo, and I made that comment. And she's like, "A lot of it's attitude." She goes, "I've lost stage 1 and stage 2 patients. I've never, it just depends if they have the attitude to fight." So where are we now? If you look at photos of her or meet her, you never know. We almost have to tell you. She gets forgetful. Chemo brain is real. I tell the kids, they're like, "Well, Dad, we told her this." I'm like, "Tell her again," and but we have her, and I have her. Hmm. Um, I always told her she was my gift from God. And that's the one prayer I always had is, "Father, I trust you. I love you. I'll serve you. I'm selfish. I don't want her to be taken away. But I'll accept whatever happens." And I'm just happy that 10 years later, we still have her. I would say the one thing I've learned about cancer is number one, have faith. Lynn had faith, and she fought hard. And I know that sometimes the results don't work out the way we want them. In our case, it did. My message to Lynn is, of course, I love you. I'm so blessed to have you in my life. I'm so happy I went to that Super Bowl get together 26, 27 years ago. You are my gift. And thank you for fighting. I thank God that your number's not up, that He has more for you to do on this earth. And I pray for many, many more years together. And I'm proud of you. And love you. And thank you. Thank you for being with me.